Okay, let's get into another hot topic. Are markets manipulated? And in this video, what I'm going to post that question to you, are markets manipulated, and explain to you what's really happening and why your answer to that question may determine whether or not you can become a successful trader. So probably like me, over the last couple of months in particular, your social media feeds have been inundated with people telling you about market manipulation. It's everywhere. And there have been a few examples that I'm going to run through in this video. And I think the questions we ask ourselves to begin with is why? Why do so many people think there's manipulation everywhere in the markets? And there's three main reasons why. Number one is just simply ignorance. Number two is these people have poor trading skills. And thirdly, is for clicks and attention. And of course, we have to include number three nowadays because, the more clicks, the more attention you get, the more you can get paid by some social media platforms as well. So it's an important input as well into why people come out with these extravagant claims time and time again. So over the last few months, there's been three that I'm going to talk about. I've heard a lot. Firstly, Jane Street manipulating Bitcoin lower with some sell programs early in the US time. CME manipulating silver by raising margins. And thirdly, market makers are manipulating markets in general at the moment to hurt small traders. Let's go through them one by one. So firstly, was Jane Street manipulating Bitcoin lower? Well, the theory out there, the conspiracy theory people out there were telling us that there was heavy sell programs at 10 o'clock in the morning US time throughout December, selling Bitcoin, manipulating that price lower. Okay. Now, the first thing I'm going to say here is if you think there is a clear program to sell Bitcoin at 10 a.m. in the morning, okay, you have one job as a trader, and that's to short it at 9:59. And if you can't work that out, that's the first red light that you are not going to become a successful trader. So to have people whinging and bitching about this manipulated of this sell program and that they were hurting all these traders, very simple. If you think that was going ahead, just tell your people, hey, this is going on. Let's sell a minute beforehand. Let's see how that works, okay? But again, if you're a real trader, you're looking to see what's really happening. Now, do I think that's what was going on? No, actually, I don't. And lifetime, I was, suggesting this within my community. What did I see in December? Well, I actually saw that on particularly days when JGB yields went higher and there was a big sell-off in Japanese government bonds in December. So in particular, the days where JGB yields went up quite significantly, I noticed sell programs not just in Bitcoin, but in other products as well. I saw it in, for example, in gold and tech stocks. And again, go away and have a look. You'll see that this wasn't just related to Bitcoin. There were sell programs going on some days, particularly those JGB yield rising days in a number of assets. So two things I took out from that. One is I think I saw a correlation between JGB yields and these sell programs. And secondly, I don't think it was manipulation. By zooming out and having a look at other markets, I could see similar things happening. I think it's much more likely that a fund in some way linked to that JGB sell-off or bond yield sell-off in general, bond yields rising in general, was exiting a sell program across assets. Okay, that's a very different picture. Now, by doing that, I was able to profit from that. I was able to come up with strategies, not just in Bitcoin, but in other products to try and take advantage of that. And again, it wasn't every day as well. And it wasn't always, there weren't always sell programs. There were some days where yields did better and there were some buy programs going on as well. So I think, again, by zooming out, you get a better understanding. And that's how you become a trader, right? And you figure out what is happening here. How can I profit from it? So, if you are just sitting back whinging and bitching about something and you haven't made adaptations to your trading, then you are definitely on the path to becoming a losing trader. Now let's look at the CME. CME with silver going crazy into December. Again, we have all these manipulation theories. They are coming after the longs. They're trying to crash the market. I saw that so many times, okay? In reality, if you understand markets, if you understand futures, if you traded them for a long time, like I have and many of my peers, you will know that margin rates are increased when volatility increases, and then they're decreased when that volatility comes down again afterwards. That's exactly what happened in silver, no more, no less. CME reacted as they should. They increased margins when volatility went crazy. We had some incredible days in silver in December, so they did what they needed to do. They increased margin requirements. There's not a manipulation here. Now, again, as an experienced trader, I was able to tell my community to expect this to happen. So position size accordingly, expect the ramifications of that kind of behavior, of what happens afterwards. But we can plan for that. It wasn't something that was unexpected. And again, if you got caught out by that, then you don't understand the markets and you really shouldn't be trading. And the third one I want to talk about is market makers manipulating markets against small traders. We hear this a lot, and I've even heard people, develop trading strategies based on identifying how the market makers are, maneuvering markets. This is complete nonsense, in my opinion, from my experience and also from the market makers that I talk to now. Of course, I was previously a market maker in another life, and I still like to use market making techniques in my trading. You have to remember that market makers, HFTs, etc., are very short term. HFTs are in and out in nanoseconds, microseconds. They hold generally very little inventory. So they really don't have a need or requirement to move and manipulate markets. They want to be in and out as quickly as possible. Once you understand that they really don't need to move markets around. That's not their job. There's enough profit in the spread and the way that you trade the order book to not have to move the market around. Now, in volatile times in particular, and over the last couple of months, whether it's silver, oil, sometimes tech stocks, the markets have been extremely volatile. In those high volatility times in particular, it's ridiculous to try and manipulate a market, okay? In high volatility times, we have no idea what business is about to hit the market. If you try and manipulate a market around, you are in all sorts of danger, okay? And if you think about market makers trying to make a couple of ticks here and a couple of ticks there, very small profits, why would you risk that by trying to move a market in a high volatility time when anything could come in at the next moment? It's just simply not likely. It's simply ridiculous. So again, if you think markets are being manipulated in this way, you don't understand markets. So if I was to sort of summarize this video very quickly, I would say, the following points. It's very lazy to say that markets are being manipulated. It's a sign, in my opinion, of a poor trader, someone who doesn't understand how markets work, is unable to zoom out and put the picture together. And quite frankly, if you're someone that keeps claiming manipulation every time you lose money or something goes against you, you are not going to become a successful trader. The second point that leads on from that, if you do think that markets are being manipulated, then stay out. Don't trade. Why would you get involved in it? And that's really the answer you should post to anybody on social media who claims that markets are being manipulated. Why are you still trading then? You should not trade in that environment if you think that's what's happening. And so, in that sense, to me, it shows me who understands markets and who doesn't. Just remember that social media encourages attention, encourages clickbait. And opinions like mine, where what I say is not going to get as much clickbait as the attention-seeking manipulation people. But just understand what's going on, what the game is they're playing. I think in some cases they simply know that it's all nonsense, but they love the clickbait and the attention. But there clearly are people who are posting, even on platforms like LinkedIn, which is supposed to be a business and relationship platform. They still want attention, or they just simply don't understand how markets work. So hopefully this video helps to set that straight and helps to put you on a better path. As I say, if you think there's manipulation, don't trade. Otherwise, work out what's happening, try and find the way to profit from it.